Hi X Group. We are going to be learning about adding two different suffixes onto a root word today. So I want you to pause the video and try and remember what a suffix is. So a suffix is something we add onto the end of a root word to change what it means just slightly. So the two suffixes we are going to be looking at today are ing and ed, so ing and ed. Now there are three rules that we are going to be concentrating on today, and these help us work out what to do when we're adding ing or ed onto a word. So the first one we're going to look at is when a word ends in two consonants, which consonants are any letter that isn't A, E, I, O or U. So any letter that isn't, so if it's got two consonants at the end, then we do this one. Or if it's got two vowels before the last letter. So for example, soak. Okay, so if it was ending in two consonants, we could use wash as an example, or we could use soak because it's got two vowels before the last letter. If we need to add ing or ed onto these words, all we do is add the suffix onto the end. We don't need to take anything away or change anything. So wash would go to washing, W-A-S-H-I-N-G, and washed, W-A-S-H-E-D. And soak would go to soaking, S-O-A-K-I-N-G, S-O-A-K-E-D for soaked. So that's our first one. That's the easiest one. We don't need to change anything. And that is when a word ends in two consonants in a row or two vowels before the consonant. Our next rule that we're going to look at is when there is a single vowel before the last letter. So an example of this is hop or tap. So you can see that there is a vowel which is in hop, the O, by itself before the last letter, which is our P. When we have a vowel by itself before the last letter, we double the last letter. So hopped becomes hopping, H-O-P-P-I-N-G. We doubled the P. Or hopped, H-O-P-P-E-D. Again, we doubled the P. Let's look at tap. It goes from T-A-P to T-A-P-P-I-N-G for tapping, and T-A-P-P-E-D for tapped. So we double that P. Okie doke. So that's what happens when we have a single vowel before the last letter, which is a consonant. And our final rule we will look at is when a word ends in E. So for example, dive or stroke or wave. So those words all end in E. When we are wanting to add ed or ing onto these words, we get rid of the E that is already there. We don't want two E's. If we kept both of them, we would end up with stroked with two E's in it. So we have to get rid of it. So let's look at stroke. It goes from being S-T-R-O-K-E as stroke. When we want to add that suffix, we take off the E. So it goes to S-T-R-O-K-I-N-G for stroking and S-T-R-O-K-E-D for stroked. So we just add that E-D and the first E is already gone. So when a word ends in E, we get rid of the E before we add ing or ed to the end of it. So I know that's quite a lot of information. You might want to watch this video a couple of times to get your head around it. I have grouped the words into colours on your word list for you, so you can see which one is the first rule, which one is the second rule, and which one is the third. I've also given you a worksheet which you're going to have to use your rules to work out how to add the suffix onto the end of those words. So I'll go over those rules just one more time, just so we can get our head around them. If the root word ends in two consonants, we just add ing or ed. The same if it has two vowels before the last letter. So for example, hoop, we would just add ing or ed. Our next rule is when there's a single vowel before the last letter. So for example, tap, it's just got an A, not a double, just an A. In this case, we double the last letter, which is our P, to make it tapping, T-A-P-P-I-N-G. So if it has one vowel before the last letter, which is a consonant, we double the last letter and make it ing. And finally, we have got words that end in E. If a word ends in E and we want to add the suffix ed or ing, we take the E off the end of the word and pop them on. I hope that's helpful. Watch the video a couple of times because it is quite a tricky one this week, and have a go at your worksheet task. You don't need to write on the worksheet, you can just write the sentences out. Try and get your head around it. Okay, thanks Primary 6.